Right, so yet again I have been disorganised, but I don't think it's necessarily the worst idea to be planting at night at the moment because it's really quite hot, and it is due to get significantly hotter over the next couple of weeks to a month. I'm hoping the rains will be relatively earlier, so I'm being optimistic about a couple of weeks there. But tonight's plantings are going, both of them, underneath the sycamore fig, which is an area which I've got quite a few little trees already. It's quite sheltered, but having been away for a little while, how much some of the things down there have dried out, I do want it to be slightly more sheltered still. So particularly one of the starfruit that I put in there had dried out quite a lot. It hasn't died, as far as I can tell, nothing under here has died, but the starfruit has lost its top. It does seem to be coming back from the sides, so that's alright, but it's not great, and that does mean that I want to stop it drying out so much. So we're going windward first, so we're planting a Soursop, Annona muricata, which is again quite a tropical, quite a humidity-loving tree, but they do seem to be much more tolerant of drying out, even when quite small, than the starfruit are. And we're going to be putting some shade-tolerant companion plants with this. So we're going to be starting with one of the Dracaena sansevieras, which is Sansevieria trifasciata, one of the West African ones. This is probably the most common one in cultivation. This is the wild type as far as I can tell. It is what they usually revert to when they get destroyed by mole rats, because these will regrow from leaf cuttings very readily. We're going to be putting 3 of those around the base, and then we're going to be following those with a typical Dracaena, which is the Dracaena reflexa. And we're going to be using reasonably large canes of this just to create a nice dense bush around this while it's small, just to make sure that it stays as humid as it needs to while it's settling in. And then finally we're going to be putting a very small piece of the aloe, sort of CF neriensis, which is going on the sort of afternoon side, so sort of slightly to the north of west of this. This is a very small one. It was just one that I saw while I was gathering the sansevieras, and I thought it might do, so we're going to be popping that in there. Secondly, we're going to the northwestern edge of the area under the sycamore fig, where we are going to be putting in something that I've been putting in a fair bit to thicken out understory, which is the Carpentaria acuminata, the Australian slender palm, which is still on offer at a local nursery, which is why it is going in so frequently. But I do seem to have developed a special knack for finding sinkholes when planting palms, and I stumbled across quite a large one today. I think I have filled it in sufficiently. As far as I can tell from where it is, it's just from a fig root rotting away. Because we're on sand, our sinkholes tend to be sort of biological in nature, rather than in some parts of Lusaka you have where the limestone caves collapse and you get really big sinkholes. Here it tends to be smaller ones. The largest ones tend to be where a tree stump has rotted or a termite mound has been. But this was a reasonably small one. I think I've managed to fill it in, but because this is a relatively shallow rooted tree, if it does turn out that was a burrow rather than a root rotting away, it shouldn't be too much of a problem if the occupants sort of reopen it and carry on moving underneath, because the roots should be able to spread out on top of that without too much of a problem. It is going to be adding the same companion plants as the Soursop. The Dracaena reflexa are rather smaller ones, and they're going to be going in a little bit lower because this really shouldn't need too much shelter from the wind and the sun here. I just want to keep the soil from drying out, because that seems to be what really upsets these. This should be insufficient shade here. It's really just keeping that soil nice and humid. And that should be And that should be everything. And that should be everything for tonight, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you haven't enjoyed it, thank you for watching anyway. Please tune in again tomorrow, because I will be planting something else. I have no idea what this time, so we will see. So bearing in mind that today it was hot enough that I was genuinely wondering if I could get away with doing it without a t-shirt on, I want you all to recognise that this little tree frog has been spending its days sheltering from the heat under a tin roof, which are not known for their cooling generally. This is the grey tree frog. They are phenomenally environmentally tolerant in everything except breeding generally. But yeah, they are pretty much heat proof as frogs go, and also very cute.